Stop recording.
This is the one
Alrighty.
who decides instead of pushing the Chromebook out of my lap, she'll just lay on the keyboard.
Aw,
TK.
that's really cute. So,
Sorry, okay, go ahead, Sandy.
alrighty. Last Friday, I heard some rumors about you guys having problems with pretty much all of your computers, and I heard this the Friday before this. I think we've been having these meetings for about a month now, pretty much, if I'm not mistaken. And as far as I can gather, there have been problems with the Chromebooks, from day one that we started this. I didn't know about them because I didn't update the HP, which is now, christened the HP 51. I'm gonna come back to that nickname later.
I don't have any problem with my Chromebook.
No,
Mine was fine.
listen up. You and I do not have problems with our Chromebooks because
Right.
we use Pigos, we use Pixels, right? Mine is a Pixel Go i5, 8 gig of RAM.
I think I know where you're getting, so I'd like to make this comment.
Go
One of
ahead.
the things you have to understand about Android and Google, Android and Chromebooks, the Google world in general, is before you consider purchasing a device, read the mainstream reviews. Because there's such a wide variety of hardware, if you see a mainstream review that complains about the thing having poor performance, don't waste your time on it because accessibility is just going to add more load and make it worse.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing
So if
about.
you want a Chromebook, I can just tell you, you're going to have accessibility issues. There's no way around it, and you're not going to be able to fix them because you just don't have good enough hardware.
I know, and that's kind of. I'm not exactly saying. I'm not saying that's not true, but I know one thing for certain. My HP ran way better on 84 than on 85, and I maxed the swap memory. I mean the virtual memory. I maxed it out as there's a hole right there, and it's deep. And no matter what I do to it, it doesn't gain any momentum at all.
What's the process?
The profit is that it runs, like maybe 30% better than it would without the swap. Because
No. What is the actual hardware processor in the device?
no. There's no extra hardware processor. What I did. That's the only thing I've done so far is
We're not
build.
communicating.
Okay.
What is the hardware of the device? Is it
Cut
an
it out.
Intel i
Okay.
processor or is it an Atom? Is it a low-end Atom thing or is it an actual Intel 7th Gen i processor?
I think it's actually an Atom and 4 gigs of RAM.
That's part of why you're running into it. You're running into the same issue. Your processor doesn't have the resources. You can play with swap if you want,
Yeah.
or even RAM to some degree, but
I
the
know.
fundamental problem is your Intel processor just isn't powerful enough.
I know. And so what actually worries me quite a bit is that we got a lot of people out on the list. I don't know how many money you got personally, and but I can go out right now and if I want to buy another Pixel Go and mess around with it, buy a couple of others, mess around with it. Not many people on the list can do this. So the reason I wanted to mess around with this was to find a way so Google could get users just a little tiny more usefulness out of the computers, which are not all of them. I don't think we have many Chromebooks on the list, to be honest, Kenny.
We don't. Most people run Windows or Macs, and they're accessing Chrome from those platforms.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know how many actually have
You see the
Chromebooks.
same problem in the Android world, by the way. What's happening is the people will go grab a device with lack of education. So for me, I'm willing to do the research, and if it takes me 8 months of saving to get something that I know will actually work, it's worth it in the end because I don't have to put up with these things. But I'm different. I'm not, most
not
people aren't aware that you need to do that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Danny. One, I may shoot you some emails off list. We are in the situation that I am running a Chromebook. It's a Samsung Chromebook that I received from the school where I work when I came there, and we have. Okay, there we go. So so I'm in the situation of having. So I'm our school's assistive technology specialist. So I want to actually get to looking at what kind of specs push better for push better for assistive technology, but also, like you were saying, look at some of the mainstream weights, and that kind of helps to understand that about the Android world as opposed to other platforms, because they all kind of have their own ways,
Yeah, because see, the Apple world is the advantage that they control the entire stack. They build the hardware, they have the operating system. The Google world, the operating systems are open source. Anybody who wants to can build an Android smartphone or build a Chromebook.
Well, right, yeah.
And so the problem is, you see a lot of people want to make some money, and so I don't like the ads on their website, but for a long time I was following the Chrome Unboxed folks, because that's all they do is Chromebooks.
Right.
And so they would say, hey, this is a good Chromebook, this one's garbage, and why?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is worth knowing.
It is. And
what I don't know, honestly, though, is what is the state of accessibility in Chromebooks for education? I don't know that.
Well, and that's where I'm kind of seeing that.
And I've never seen anything on the Google list about it. I've heard of it, but I don't have any experience with it.
So yeah, and what we typically see is sometimes challenges people getting the material to, like, for example, Classroom, to where teachers are all going to be, students will all be pulling it down in an accessible format. At our school, it's a deaf and blind school, so I went there, and when I was attending that school 25 years ago, it was we were in separated classes. Now that they're all coming together and having perhaps a deaf teacher teaching a mixed class or a blind teacher teaching a mixed class, now we're seeing a lot more of what is the accessibility, which kids are actually being able to hear the speech versus...
Yeah, and what makes me angry right now is two Silicon Valley companies I know for sure have a commitment to accessibility that goes company-wide, are Microsoft and Apple. Google isn't one of them. Google markets accessibility, but there's a problem internally with the company. They don't have either... I'm not sure. Okay, never mind. Let me stop before I start getting angry. I gave up on Android after a decade and got an iPhone 11 because I got so ticked off with some of the issues I was finding.
I get you.
And they're fundamental cultural issues that either Google simply doesn't test for accessibility, or they test for it but don't consider critical accessibility bugs a reason to hold up a product release.
Right.
That's the only conclusions I can come to.
Right. And I know that at a certain point that's where Microsoft was as well.
But they've changed. Satya Nadella has fundamentally changed the company because he actually has disabled children. He gets it.
Right.
I think
and you can see, like with Narrator, how it improved, which I totally expected, being familiar with Windows for such a long time, that, included it just as a bonus freebie and that it was never going to really be improved. And lo and behold, it slowly got better. And now I'm kind of like, wow. Hey, wow, the free product is actually something that, as an IT professional, I could use to get out of a certain bind every now and then.
I've finally seen it in my lifetime where you no longer need to pay for a commercial screen reader. I cannot see a reason to pay for JAWS. And that's the last commercial screen reader left, by the way. They're all gone.
Yeah.
Nobody else has one.
I know.
And if Narrator can't do it, NVDA can. And if they can't, they'll figure out a way, because NVDA still has blind developers who really get what it means to be a blind person needing access to a screen.
Right.
That makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I am encouraged by seeing, so I met Laura Allen several years ago, before I, was acquainted with Google and that kind of thing. But I was surprised by, hey, cool, there's a person with a VI impairment,
Yeah, I talked to her once last year in a meeting, but unfortunately the issues I brought up with Google never seem to have gotten addressed. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I get that. And the problem is that sometimes there are people who can see the need for a certain, an improvement or a feature, and I've seen how that can get ground under amongst other priorities or perceived priorities.
That, and you also have the conflict now of accessibility for one person can mean a problem for a different disability. That's right. One of the things you see in Chrome 85 is the reason they boosted the quality of the TTS was so that sighted people who with other print disabilities can use Select to Speak and actually understand it better. It made it worse for a screen reader user, but in general, it made it better for the disabled community at large.
Right. And that's a hard thing to parse.
I know.
You know, it's hard to separate where
I'm lucky I had real world examples of that brought that one home to me really good decades ago, and I've never forgotten it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, our local city, when they did a widening project, the consultant involved for disability was a wheelchair person. So they made it a perfect accessibility solution for wheelchairs, which immediately made it impossible for me to use it as a cane traveler. Because I couldn't find the islands to cross the street safely anymore, because they were too blingy.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? That's a perfect example of what we've seen here as well. When you make that kind of improvement, it's like, oh, okay, you know, it changes the way another type of person has to interact with the very same, you know, feature.
Right.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I don't use my Chromebook enough, but I honestly haven't heard an improvement in the quality of the Google TTS at this point. But like I said, my Chromebook is kind of like my last resort device right now if I can't do it on the iPhone or the Pixel 3.
Yeah, I get you. I kind of have to use, I'm kind of in the position where I kind of have to test drive several platforms through the same kind of tasks. And it's tedious, and after a while I start to forget, okay, which one was I using the Chrome OS, and which...
Oh, I know. The iPhone and my Pixel are driving me crazy on that because the gestures are close enough, but just wrong.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
We've scared them off. Or at least that's what we scared Sandy off.
No. I'm still here. I'm just, I'm in Dixie mode. That's really, really introverted to me, and sitting, reflecting about what you guys are talking about. It's really, really interesting.
Dixie mode.
Dixie mode.
That's a new one.
What?
Yeah, we're going through another transition because technology's changing stuff so quickly.
Yeah.
I think what I was gonna.
Person or is that a PDF?
No, that's a person.
Okay.
I think so. Oh no! That's Chime messing around with his deck talk.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard deck talk in years, man.
I know. Well, I keep.
He sounded like
kind of a person. So every now and then, I like breaking out old deck talks and things that sound like deck talks.
No, it's kind of.
I just noticed the other day I found my old Accent SA. The problem is I don't currently own any modern device that still uses a serial port. It's just.
I know.
Everything I have now is either USB-C Lightning, and pretty much all my devices talk to each other over Bluetooth. So I never,
You never wanted to retrofit it.
Do they even make a? Well, why would it? I can't think of a screen reader that supports an old hardware synthesizer anymore. I don't have none of my devices use one.
Oh, I could think about a few. I could think about a few situations. You wouldn't have to use the CPU for the computer speak and stuff like that.
You would, but now you're back to a hardware interrupt delay. So you still have that problem. It's just you've shifted it down to a lower level, and it'll be more responsive. You're right. You've offloaded the processing for the software speech.
Yeah, but then again, we had
the problem is now nobody supports RS-232 anymore.
No, I mean, why would they? I mean, the world goes on.
So you couldn't actually. People skilled in Linux couldn't somehow do that.
Well, that's already been done. If you want to, like Chime, for example, he's accessing on a Linux system now with his deck talk. That's the only place where you can still do that.
Yeah, got you.
Windows might be able to do it still, but the Mac didn't use the RS-232 standard that the PC did anyway.
But got you.
And now that you've gone to USB for everything, in theory, you might be able to get a USB adapter that does RS-232. But why add extra stuff? I don't have the benefit anymore. My processor is too powerful enough. I don't need it.
Unfortunately, nobody's making a USB driver for the deck talk in Linux.
Well, then, yeah, okay. Because that's true. After all the hardware connections are made, then you got to come back to a driver issue.
And you're back to the problem Chime has. Chime could write it himself because he's got access to the docs and the technology if he wanted to, but he's the only one motivated to do it. No one else is wanting to do it anymore.
Oh, I don't know.
So
I mean,
eSpeak integration and Speak Up so we could use it in the installers.
I'm not a programmer.
You could be if you wanted to be.
Well, okay, that's.
I actually think about, if we think about, Manny, you heard the offer that Kenny gave me before. Maybe we should just take him up on it and go ride the fucking driver.
Go ride a driver?
Yeah, he said he's.
I'm not doing development. I have no use for it. That's what you're running up against. Honestly, having blind people yell at me demanding features when I did open source development was finally maybe say, I've had enough. Go get off your butt and do it yourself or go away. And I finally just gave up.
Kenny, I think.
It wears you down after a decade, dude.
I think it was Matt. One of you guys. Let's see. 2 weeks ago, I might have mentioned to Kenny. Or something that in the old days when there were commercial screen readers. Like JAWS is now, but in DOS it was localized. And at least you got phone support. You could ask about, and they had a lot of features like an exception dictionary and things like that, which SpeakUp doesn't have because, like you say, people just do it themselves or write a patch or whatever. And people like me that are not programmers, I have to wait and hope that somebody's going to do these things.
No. That's not what they're going to do. No, that's not what they're going to do. I'll tell you what they're going to do. You want to know? I can tell you. I can tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta take out the plastic card and waffle it under my nose and say, I will pay. And then magic happens. The code comes floating. That's how it works today. And that's the.
Well, but I don't think SpeakUp has a donate option on their site. It's not. They don't expect.
No, Chime. SpeakUp. Kirk isn't interested in this either. You're the only one who's interested. You're the one who does the donation, and she'll get the driver and send it to Kirk, and he can merge it into the source.
Right.
That's how it works, man.
The person who does the work in Debian for SpeakUp is Samuel, and I can't think of his last name.
Samuel Thibault. He used to be the one on BRLTTY.
Right.
Same deal is true. If you pay Sandy to write your driver, and it's good looking C code, send it to Samuel.
It's good looking. It's good. Hey, listen to me. It's good looking C code. Can you think about this? You talked about the cat just passed on. That's going from one div to another. How much? It's going to be really, really. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but it's not going to be difficult either.
Because you're going to need a desktop device to debug it. And you're going to sit there and do a bunch of pain in the butt debugging to make it work, looking at low-level escape codes, but it's possible.
Right, but
because there used to be a software desktop solution that used most of the escape codes to talk to it, so you can get most of it out of the box.
Right, but the
low-level PCI, the USB device on the PCI bus.
The thing is that Samuel doesn't have a desktop to try.
Exactly.
So the thing is, Samuel will sometimes write me on the list and say, "Can you try this?" And,
exactly.
And it's a little kludgy because it's not interactive. I can't. Like right now with Sandy and I, if she wants me to type something into the Chromebook, I'll be happy to do that. But in general, emailing back and forth on a list is not the most adequate way to.
Yeah, hey, I told you how to fix that. But
that's how it works, Chime. That's how me and Kirk used to debug SpeakUp all the time. He'd check in some stuff and say, "Hey, can you test this? And send me some logs?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Here's what's happening."
Well, yeah, but I don't think Kirk is that interested anymore. He's just.
He's not. He's like me. He got tired of people demanding stuff and nobody actually coming up and doing anything.
Right.
Okay, Kenny better be glad he never dated me because I do that a lot, demand from people, and they don't even get paid for doing stuff. But maybe that's something else.
Well, I'm not.
No. You're thinking of pay strictly financially, Sandy. There's payments are all only defined by money because our society says it should be. In reality, everything has a cost.
Yeah, but I have a question. I have lots of questions for you guys. back in time when we wrote the driver for the Danish Braille display called a Logtext in Braille, right? Mm-hmm. He got like, I think, he pretty much asked us, how much do you want for this? And we was like, it's not the way we put it, but we were pretty much like, we don't want, and you know, we're gonna give this for free because, you know, I use that myself. Mm-hmm. And obviously, as you said yourself, Kenny, that's pretty much how open source works, up to a certain degree. When you go above that point, that's when the money starts to flow. And I'd be interested to find out actually if there was any development for DECtalk that was ever paid, because if there has, I never heard about them.
Not that I know of, because the hardware speech was already dying in 2000. I was surprised DECtalk USB even existed.
Yeah, well, Access Solutions or Axel Solutions, whatever it is, that
that's 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago. It's been a long time.
Right.
Yeah, I also think, Chime, I actually, in the email, I actually told you what you could do, but you never, replied to me. So I was pretty much like, okay, he's maybe not interested.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed something. But tell me again. What did you want me to do?
You just you open up the SSH connection on your Pixel, so we can log in.
I don't have a Pixel.
No, he's got a low-end Chromebook. That's part of his problem. Is he's running into performance issues.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If you want to debug his DECtalk driver, you probably want to do that accessing an SSH session onto his desktop with a USB where the device is plugged in.
Yeah, I was going to talk about his Chromebook though, because there was
the problem though, Chime, is for her to do most of this stuff, she's going to have to be root. So you're going to have to trust her with the ability to wipe your system.
Chime, and Chime, I promise you, Chime, if you piss me off, I'm going to type I'm really fast. No, I'm not going to do that.
Kenny, you're absolutely right. We're talking about two different things. This all got started about the Chromebooks performance issue.
Yeah, see, hey guys, you sidetrack me all the time. See how it goes? I can prove this right now. You guys are sidetracking me.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sandy. I didn't realize he was wanting you to develop a DECtalk driver for the Chromebook. In that case,
I wasn't.
Fun challenge.
No.
Architecture for Chromium is not.
No. That's not what I'm gonna do. That's not what I'm gonna do. We was talking about ROM and swap files, and now you guys are all getting me sidetracked. But that's okay. I mean, I can live with it.
In that case, let's go back to it. In Chime's case, no matter how much you tweak his swap in his RAM, he bought a $100 Chromebook. He's got a low-end Atom processor. He's always going to have issues and frustration with it.
Objection.
Okay, go ahead.
Objection. Lawyer. Where's my lawyer? Lawyer. Do I have a lawyer? Who's going to act as my lawyer? Okay, no one wants to be my lawyer. Okay, that kind of tells me how up shit creek I am. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna be silk now. Okay, not saying the paper, as Felix would call it. I heard Chime's Chromebook, not Chromebook. Chromebook. I heard Chime's Chromebook ringing, and it's really singing. I'm a poet and didn't even know it. So on that one, I'm gonna rest my case. I mean, I really am. If I heard him, press keys and stuff like that, Kenny, and then you know this because you worked on Linux as well. You can hear the clicking sounds from the keys, and then you have the delay, and then you have the TTS, talking. And it's not. I mean, his Chromebook's not fast. It's not a Pico, but it's not slow. As in slow.
It's not. Where he's going to run into issues most of the time is the same thing Felix had, where you get speech stuttering when the system is busy loading websites and rendering.
Oh yeah.
That's the biggest issue he's going to see.
Yeah.
Once the page loads and stabilizes, then you're right. The performance will be good enough. What's happening is when you get a complex site and there's a lot of loading.
I need to say something. I know I'm right because I am. Nearly always right. Not all the time, but normally nearly always. But, okay, so let's get back to the issue at hand. I still say this, and I can be wrong about this. I'm not going to say that I'm right about this one, because I mean, think about this, guys. I used a week of my precious time, and I learned so much. But still, I think because I can see the specs changing in the computers, the more swap file you got, it doesn't die as fast. At least not, if you're like me, lying down, reading a book, stuff like that, big websites, yada 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 yada. I mean, it does get stuff better, but Kenny is right. Of course, we have the CPU to talk about as well, and I think that's what a bottleneck is.
Yeah, a faster solution, by the way, to help improve the performance on the low-end devices would be shut down the virtual machines that are doing Android emulation and Linux emulation, so it's strictly purely a Chromebook browser, and that'll take a lot of the resources away. So at least the processor is focused strictly on rendering Chrome and Chrome web pages and TTS instead of having to do the virtual machines that you can honestly do better with in other places. You really don't need them. Because I thought I would need the Android VM on my Pixelbook, and I don't. I can't really see a reason for it.
Kenny, would I still have speech?
Yeah, you just
wouldn't be able to go to a Linux shell on your Chromebook anymore, but so what? You got a Linux desktop, you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
You wouldn't be able to run Android products on your Chromebook, but that accessibility has got some problems anyway, so why bother?
So how would I shut that down?
Before we go there, Kenny, if you're gonna pay you anything, I need 95% of it because I made a contact. Just saying.
You can do it because I don't. What you're going to do is go into a set of flags in Chrome and disable them, and I don't know what they are. You'll have to look them up. But essentially, what you're trying to do is disable the Linux emulation and the Android emulation.
I'm not sure I want to disable it forever. I just want to turn it off.
Well, but you won't. It's the flags. If you decide to turn it back on time, you just go back to that same page of flags and turn them back on.
I see.
It's like a config tweak. It's just a set of flags that determine how the system behaves.
The other thing that's kind of silly is that I have to do Alt-Control-Z to turn off the speech so that my performance, the output of what at least you can understand me now because the speech is turned off.
Yeah, that's the GTS loading the processor too much.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be that way because maybe somebody wants to hear who comes in and out of the meeting or
Well, but Chime, that's what I'm trying to explain. You're not understanding, dude. If this was a sighted person, they'd be complaining about your Chromebook performance too, especially if they were using video. What you've got is your hardware. It just isn't. You went cheap, and there's a cost to being cheap.
Well, yeah, and I went cheap because this is not my main machine,
right?
And I was hoping to take it as a lightweight traveling device to replace my Linux laptop machine, but it never happened because I don't have flat review.
The way I look at Chromebooks is Chrome is the most widely used browser on the planet. Chrome and Chrome-based browsers are like 85% of the market on the entire planet. And so, for me, a Chromebook is a way to get access to the most current web browser so that I can deal with a modern website and when I have an accessibility issue because I've got a device running Chrome 85, which is the current release, I have a chance to convince the company to fix it. If I'm running outdated hardware and software, they can legally ignore me in the United States.
Yeah.
But if I'm running Chrome 85 or an Android 11 device or an iOS 14 device, especially if I'm using their app or their website, they have to do something about it.
Okay.
That's the way to look at it.
And because of a tech, from a support side, most support technicians will be telling you, well, that's your problem, is yet you're not running the most current.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
I agree with both of you, but I'm not,
No.
Are you saying? I guess
if you really want a portable Linux laptop, you want to get one that already comes with the Debian distribution. Otherwise, you're not going to be satisfied trying to make Chromebooks into anything more than just a device to use Chrome.
Right, but the way I feel about it, if I could just get the bleeping flat review, I'd be happy with this machine.
But you can't. I even verified this after our last meeting. Remember me telling you how? Okay, you ever gone into Emacs Speak and brought up this shell within Emacs Speak?
Yes and no. I don't understand Emacs to understand even how.
Okay, the reason I'm bringing that up is when you do.
Well, I have a short question before I go there.
You use redirection. Let me finish with him for a second.
Okay.
Sandy's interrupting you.
What you will notice is if you do that in Emacs Speak, the way Emacs Speak implemented is the same way that Chromebooks did. What they did was they did redirection of the command prompt into in the case of Emacs speak, into an Emacs buffer. Okay.
Okay.
That means when you're going through that, you're going through it like it's a document. So you will always get the new line signals. Well, Chromebooks did the same thing, except in their case, they virtualized it to essentially they created a local web page. And you'll see that, for example, if you bring up the Chrome shell and then hit Control W to close the tab, my Pixelbook Go will actually ask me if I want to leave that site, because that's what they're doing. They're essentially taking the output from the shell, the output device, and rendering it in a web page. And they're using a document view to render it so that you can see everything and navigate it. But because it's a document view, it's always going to tell you line breaks because that's part of a document view definition.
Oh.
So you have to fundamentally change how Linux accessibility works if you really want flat review on a Chromebook.
Oh, you can just...
And I would not go there.
Chime, I have a question for you. You said you didn't understand, you didn't get how Emacs works before. Do you know how VI works?
No, I don't use I use Nano as an editor. I'm very happy. It's sort of like using Alpine or Pine for mail. It's simple.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I was about VI all the way. Definitely. VI.
Well, that's the beautiful part about Linux as well, have choices.
Yeah, it's just about having the bad ones, but that's okay. I mean, we love you still.
Thank you. Thank you.
However, I will say one thing. A lot of the Google website people were Vim users. So navigating through the list of messages in your mailbox looks suspiciously like VI commands from the cursor.
Yay! I love VI.
Most of the Google folks are long-term Unix folks. That's why Google's approaches are the way they are.
Kenny, if you're saying that I'm never going to have flat review in Chromebook, then my next option would be to find out, which we were hoping to find out 40 minutes ago, if they have flat review in the Mac.
Okay, I'm gonna find out I'll take a hint. I can take a hint when it's brought down on me like this. Okay. I'm gonna do this. No. Don't be sorry. I'm gonna do this.
Sandy,
No, I'm gonna do this for you. Hold on. I don't. No, I'm a female. I gotta say this. I'm a female. I know my place, so I didn't want to interrupt you guys talking. But I'm gonna get the Mac now.
Wait a minute. I thought European females were modern. I mean, females don't know their place. They do what they want, man.
Really?
That's how they do it in America.
Really?
And in addition,
I've been told.
Well, that's how they do it in my part of America. Other parts are different. I remember some poor guy coming from California because he was impressed because he met a girl in Tennessee who got mad at people distracting her birthday party. So she went out and attacked him with a knife. He thought he was impressed by that. I'm going, you poor fool. When she gets annoyed with you, you're in trouble.
Maybe I have to. Maybe I have to change my behavior and say, "Champ, get off your fucking ass and get yourself another Mac computer." That's right.
It's fascinating how fast she uses those swear words. You barely even know they're there.
Oh, I understand them fine. You just gotta hang on to the right people, man.
Yeah. In addition, I guess the Mac, like the Chromebook, uses 3 keystrokes at a time. I think there's a way to remap that so you can use 2 instead of 3.
Sandy,
yes.
This shares secret. Just wait till Shine gets to deal with the rotor.
What? What?
The rotor.
The voiceover rotor.
Yeah.
The voiceover rotor?
Why you think I won't like it?
For a rotor command on the Chromebook, and their answer to that is by flicking to change your granularity, right?
Yeah, that's the TalkBack approach. When you swipe up vertically on an Android device with TalkBack, you swipe vertically to change your granularity, and you swipe horizontally to navigate by the new granularity.
Got you. Yeah. Okay.
Because they couldn't adopt the rotor because, especially in the early days of Android accessibility, Apple and Google were in legal fights constantly over UI things. So, yeah, Google had to be very careful not to copy Apple's things at the beginning to keep from getting into more legal trouble. Now that things have settled down, you're going to see multi-finger gestures in Android later this year because Android 11 supports them, and the next release of TalkBack will probably start implementing them. And you'll also see the 2-finger magic tap you have on an iPhone coming to Android starting with Android 11.
Okay, all right.
But it's got to be Android 11. They can't push it back to other versions like they could with Google Play services.
Okay, so while you guys are talking, I'm just gonna tell him once again, I'm gonna get the Mac for him. I mean, obviously he should have gone and bought a Mac, but I'm gonna be non-classic European female. I'm gonna do it for him. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, I gotta say, if I had to buy a full desktop or a laptop now, it'd probably be a Windows computer, just because of Microsoft, their commitment to accessibility support.
It's different, yeah.
I mean, my next
Because Apple's in transition anyway. Because Apple's about to migrate fully to ARM within the next year. Because I believe it. I have the most powerful device I own right now is an iPhone 11.
the most powerful one. How fast is your Pixel?
My Pixel is a Pixel 3. It's a couple years old. And
No, your Pixel book.
The iPhone 11 is actually probably more powerful and more resource efficient than the core Intel processor. See, that's what's happening. Intel is not keeping up with the modern changes in the modern computing world.
Okay.
ARM is about to completely dominate everything except for high-end special niche cases. You know,
Say that again.
ARM, because Intel is not keeping up with the demands for low power usage, ARM is about to start essentially dominate everything except for high-end special case uses. Because ARM is finally caught up with performance. Intel has never been able to compete on power efficiency.
Oh, right. Which is, they had heat issues for a while, right?
Yeah, heat issues, and they can never go below they can never just go to the smaller build factors.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas ARM-based processors have been able to do that, and also Intel really didn't put much effort into AI, and the world is migrating toward onboard AI processing. I mean, my iPhone 11 is doing real-time image descriptions now because of onboard AI processing.
Oh,
it's not talking to the net; it's just doing it locally.
It's so amazing. No, I've got this DJ app that I use where you can real-time separate your vocals and your instruments and all of this stuff real-time. And it's amazing. I'm like, dude, just this processor in my phone.
Yeah, and Google finally relaxing the restrictions on their included AI processor with more current pixels. My Pixel 3, pretty much the only thing that can use it is the camera, which is a problem. But with the newer Pixels, they're starting to push more of assistant stuff onto the phone. That's the one advantage right now. Apple has an API to talk to the local Neural engine, and Google doesn't.
Okay, I have a question right here. I'm sitting with the MacBook. I'm about to die because it weighs 4 tons and a half, but that's okay.
Oh, you're bored. Finally.
Why do you smile like that?
How can you hear that I'm smiling?
You can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, but
came right through.
What? You can hear that? Wait a minute, boys. Wait a minute. You fucking can hear that I'm smiling in my voice.
Absolutely.
It's very easy.
It's simple. I mean, as a matter of fact, I always know when somebody's blushing, even though I can't see the color.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god!
I mean, my sighted friends that are just flabbergasted by that. And
I can understand why. Okay, so how do I prove this thing before I die? I mean, it weighs at 4. I mean, man, I'm sitting up here.
Just open a terminal and see if you can do flight review. I don't know. Does Mac ever even offer flight review?
I don't know. Well, wait a minute. I guess
I don't remember VoiceOver ever even offering such a thing. But I'm not a VoiceOver person except on the touchscreen.
Yeah, I mean, NVDA added it about 2 or 3 years ago. So
you're confusing operating systems, Chime.
I know.
The accessibility approach taken by Apple is fundamentally different than the one taken by Windows. Linux copied some of it, but there's also fundamental differences there.
Okay, I mean, I have 14 million some. What is it saying? 14,500,000 lines in the current terminal buffer. What do you guys want me to do?
Does the numpad work? Does the numpad row work in the Mac?
No, but I can do arrow up and arrow down. If that's what you mean.
No. Well, no.
No, Sandy. What Chime is looking for, and this is where Speak Up got it from. Chime was a DOS screen reader from Larry Skunkon called ASAP. That's where I copied it from.
ASAP.
Okay.
ASAP, yeah.
So what China's asking for, Sandy, is a particular interface to screen readers that is still implemented in a few places, but generally isn't used anymore.
Well,
it's still around because NVDA folks needed it for the terminal. It's still around in a Linux console mode, and I think Orca copied it, but I don't remember.
Well, as I said before, I forgot to sniff his Visa card. There might be a way.
I suppose one of us could go into DuckDuckGo or Google search and type in flat reviews and a plus sign and put in the Mac. Or
I think
something.
I think that has to be me, because if John does on his computer, it's gonna.
No. I could do it on my Linux machine. I mean, it might. It's just that if I'm
by all means, please do, because I'm lying here in a really comfortable position.
If you guys are asking me a question over there, I won't be able to respond because I'm over, typing or listening.
That's okay.
So,
I mean, he's a male, so you can't type and talk at the same time. We get it. That's okay.
Yeah, get rid of that clunky MacBook and go back to your nice-looking Pixel Go, Sandy. That thing is a sleek-looking piece of hardware.
I know.
Pixel phones are too, by the way, but the performance for battery life is awful.
I have to say this. I am impressed with the Pixel Go.
I'm impressed with it too. As a Chromebook, it's an awesome device. It's really cool.
I'm sad that I could. I'm sad at the time I could only get the i5s. Now I had to wait until I can get the i7 in the right color, but it will come.
The i5 was okay for me because I at the time I was like, okay, I need a Pixel, I need a new Chromebook because my Acer wasn't getting updates anymore. So I need a new Chromebook and I need a new bed. So it was like, let's split it and see what I can get.
Okay, need a new Chromebook, need a new bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the bed experience turned out to be an interesting education because I tried all the mainstream sites selling beds and mattresses.
Yeah.
And they all had accessibility issues. So I documented them on Twitter and said, oh, hey, Casper, I was about to give you this much money, but you lost because of this. And I finally ended up buying a cheap folding mattress from Walmart for $160 because the process was fully accessible from my phone, and the others couldn't work with my phone or my Chromebook.
Man, you would never have that problem over here, I promise you. Everything works. Every supermarket works.
No, you would. These are like Casper, Purple. These are mainstream mattress companies. They're worldwide websites.
Yeah, but
here's the frustration. On 3 of the 4 of them, what got me in trouble was a crappy countdown timer telling me how long was left in the sale, auto-updating and taking away focus on my screen. The way it works here is if I had wanted to be a jerk, I could have pushed the issue and got them in trouble legally.
I have done it before, I promise you.
My attitude toward businesses in the United States now is I don't want to take legal action against you. I could. What I will do instead is tell you how much business you lost because you didn't bother to take accessibility seriously.
I
think that's a better approach.
I got to tell you guys a story. I've been married a couple of years back. We divorced now because he couldn't keep to himself. Anyhow,
that's not a big thing.
We wanted. I wanted a special kind of car. So the website that I wanted it from didn't work with my browser. Mm-hmm. So what I did was that I called the car dealer by phone, and I said, I want to buy a car, but apparently I can't. And he was really, really sad because it was some of the first companies over here who sold electric cars. And I said, the reason that I can't is not because I don't have the money, because, I've been doing it good on Bitcoins, whatever, stuff like that. But the reason that I can't do it is because the website doesn't work. I think they got it fixed 2 days after. And we went down and got the car. And
that's been my experience. It's the best way to do it. My local grocery store did a redesign of their app last year. And they neglected accessibility, and I called them out about it on Twitter. And what happened was when I pointed out that I could no longer add coupons to my card. That crossed the boundary where their legal department went, yo, you either fix this now or he's going to own our company. And they're like, okay. And since then, that app has been perfectly accessible. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I put my SIM card back in my Pixel 3 instead of the iPhone is because there's a couple of accessibility issues with the app on the iPhone, while the Android app and the Chromebook version work perfectly now. Yeah. Because the side effect of them making it work on Android was Android uses Chrome Web Views.
Yeah.
So it's all most apps on Android are essentially rendering the content of the page in a nice custom user interface.
I think it's
the nice side effect is the website fixed.
I think it's the wrong way of going at it. I mean, I have had Google developers off the mailing list, and they tell me they come from the mailing list. Since me and Felix started talking about this on the last meeting, people having problems with 85, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying that I've been totally drowned, but I've definitely been swamped.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, to me, if I was working for Google, which I'm not, I would go like this, go fix the damn thing, because people are gonna complain about it anyways. And if they need,
yeah, but as I said, this is the problem with Google. That's why I said earlier they don't have an internal process now where accessibility is a requirement at this point.
Yeah, but they still have Laura.
Sandy, were you on the Android list last year?
Yeah, I was.
Remember when they pushed it? Remember when they pushed a version of Chrome to Android smartphones that basically broke our ability to use any web views, and the only solution was to turn on developer mode and run Canary, and we were stuck like that for a month and a half. Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Before they pushed a new stable update. Well, later that year, they pushed another version of Chrome Stable on Android that broke a few people's ability to set up some bookmarks, and they pulled it. That should tell you their policy.
But I think it's kind of funny because they still should have Laura in there to,
And like I said, I talked to Laura and I talked to a guy that's supposed to be their head of accessibility, but nothing ever seemed to happen. So somewhere else in the company, higher up or at some level in their culture, things are not working. The people that care aren't in a position to have any impact.
But beyond that, here we've had like 4 meetings, and there's still no Google person representing them that's that's with us today.
Hey, trust me, they are listening. They are listening on the sideline.
Wait, I'm sorry, there's 3 of you talking.
They are listening on the sideline. I can almost guarantee you this. Remember Laura's comments? She asked basically if it was okay that Google been listening in. She never asked how we was okay they're listening in, just if we was. And me and Felix was like, yeah, that's cool.
Oh.
I think
they're watching the list. They're not going to be able to get into your meeting because of how you set it up unless you invite them. They're not that powerful. Nobody at Laura's level has the admin privileges to do something like that.
No,
right, but if they joined us, it would prove that they cared.
Oh yeah, I'm
but here's the question, Sam. What do you want them to care about? If you're insisting they care about links accessibility, they're not going to care. Okay?
Nobody does. Well, okay, I see your point.
What's happened is you've gotten associated with that group that demands it's your right to have access to links, while you've publicly stated to Google that you don't want them to make any money off of you. You shouldn't be surprised if they kind of don't want to deal with that. Be associated with it. The world is appearances, Chime.
When I go to even a YouTube page, in Google, I mean, I see like 20 just generic links, and there's not much there, and
right.
It's bad.
Because they're focused on people like me running an iPhone, an Android phone, and a Chromebook.
Hold on, I gotta answer the door. Hold on, Susie.
They're interested in making YouTube work on the current platforms.
No.
I swear to God, it's kind of funny, Kenny, when you talk, you sound about as much Steve as I am. I don't know what kind of working, what kind of job.
We would probably not be. I don't know that we'd be compatible together because we both have strong personalities.
Oh, see, that's why you're mistaken. I'm incredibly submissive.
Okay, I have boundaries. I go along with about everything until you cross a certain boundary with me, and then you discover I'm like my cat, and I actually do have claws.
Yeah, see,
I've never gone to a school for the blind, so I've lived my whole life as a blind guy in the mainstream world, and I've lived in I've experienced some interesting life experiences that have given me some instincts and some reflexes that make me a very effective survivor.
Oh yeah, I've been there myself.
What you gotta do.
That's what you gotta do. And this
I'm the kind of guy who can still make effective use out of heroin addicts as eyeballs, because as long as you understand not to trigger anything control of their habit, they can be useful to you. You just have to be careful.
Oh, dude, I know. I know.
Yeah, and
What's funny is,
go ahead.
I've been able to find eyeballs in a very interesting places. Others that can't take advantage of it. I don't know. I get people telling me all kinds of stuff of what they see, and sometimes they don't even know that I need to know it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right about that. Just depending on what you got to do, it's survival, and we're not talking about in a Uzi kind of way, right? Because
we're talking about dealing with the real world. Like, the other day I had some doubts about the temp for my office, so
the what?
the temp person who was at the office when I paid my rent, and so I documented it in email and also took a couple of pictures of her while I was standing there. It's legal in Alabama to do that.
Battery is full.
It's just common survival habits that you have to have in the modern world.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that's why I'm such an advocate for modern solutions instead of older hardware, is because the modern technology has given me so much freedom and independence that you just couldn't get 10 years ago or even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm with Kenny on this one. I mean, even when I use, the voice for seeing like that, have the iPhone strapped to my head, and know I look like a monster freak or whatever. I mean, I still do it because, it's better than not having it.
Exactly.
And that's one other point as well. I don't give a fucking goddamn care what people think about it, and I'm not afraid to say it out loud. Really.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not either. I mean, I
do. I mean, I don't like it in some situations, but I can definitely live with it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. That's why I'm glad I got the iPhone 11. So, by the way, Google did push an update to my Pixel 3 that fixed the AI issue. Right now, Lookout is the fastest, most effective way I have to read print mail. I just pull it out, open Lookout, and start reading. When I'm finished reading something, pop the phone on the table, grab the next thing, pick it up, and keep going.
Yeah.
And it's apparently they've done a lot of fixes because it's no longer maxing out my CPU either. However, I'm going to keep the iPhone and give it up because the iPhone is finally allowing me to read mainstream social media and have some clue what's going on because of the image description.
I had
started a conversation on social media by asking what's in the image. You've already lost the conversation.
I think it's kind of funny because we're talking about we're talking about AI side basically here. I mean we've been going pretty far away from the meeting, but that's how it is. And I mean, fuck that. I mean, really. Doesn't matter.
I mean, like I said, seriously, the biggest issue, and I don't know how to educate people about this, is the biggest issue to get across to people, both in Android and Google accessibility in general, is if you decide to buy cheap hardware without researching it, then you've already messed up. And I don't know how to educate people on that.
No, I don't actually agree with this one, and I gotta make a point here. I mean, take me for example. I'm an Apple girl, as I said before. I mean, I'm probably looking like a really, really big diva, and I am in some aspects, but generally speaking, I'm pretty submissive, as I said before. That means that for me to go out and invest in things, it really have had to prove itself. So I started out with Android tablets, then I got absolutely. Then I got the Chromebooks, I got the Acer and the HP, and now I own the Pico. Right. The next thing is going to be the i7, I think it's called, and 60 gig of RAM. I mean, you got to take stuff at a slow pace, depending on your mindset, your situation, stuff like that. But yeah, generally, absolutely, I do agree with you.
I spent a lot with cheap phones and Android and kept getting bit by that, so that's why I've switched to Pixels, even though they're overpriced. Is because I know as an accessibility user, and when Google doesn't break something, I'm likely to have the best Android accessibility experience because Google has tight control over Chrome OS. They don't have tight control over what happens on Android devices. And so you can it still happens, but it's less rare. But in the early days in particular, you could buy an Android off-the-shelf phone that had no accessibility support whatsoever. The company that made it didn't include it, and Google didn't require it. So
yeah, but right today I also believe that Android OS is open source, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, but once again, it's open source, but the company building the hardware gets to decide on some things. And so that's why you see Android, for example, Google has slowly took control of more parts of the operating system through Play services and some other tricks to try to keep phones updated, because what used to happen is the people would go out, use Android open source, and license the Google Play apps. They put out a phone, piece of crap, and never updated again. And Google got tired of that. And so they started slowly pushing and getting more power, but now they're in this situation where they have to be careful because they don't want to be, they don't want to effectively be the monopoly, but at the same time, they had to exert some control because otherwise it was even worse.
It is a little bit too much of a wild mixed bag.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Wild, wild west. We living in a wild, wild west.
Physical keyboard, and I couldn't access it.
I think it's kind of. Okay, go ahead.
I said you knew what I was about to say. Is it was like the wild frontier.
I think I promise you. In some instances over here, it's still the wild frontier. I have a girlfriend who wants to put oh man, what is it? It's some kind of Chrome OS on a Mac computer. It's not called Chrome OS. I don't know what it's called. Cloud Ready, maybe something
like that. It's an open source version. Yeah, it's an open source Chrome OS. I could have updated my Ace. It lags a couple of versions and doesn't have some of the VMs, but it's just like Android. It's open. Chromium is open source. Microsoft and Google are the two major contributors to it right now. But Chromium itself is an open source project. You could build your own Chrome OS distro if you wanted to.
I swear to God, boys, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna come up with some. I'm gonna call it
non-diva.
No. Let's see here. Kenny lives in Alabama, and he knows that I'm crazy for NASA. I think that I'm just gonna call it. I think that I'm call it Wormball. Dixie Wormball. Diva Dixie Wormball. Now, see, that's the thing. That's just gonna work.
Yeah. You guys, I did take a look in DuckDuckGo. I tried to search a few different ways. I found nothing about Flat Review in Mac, but I tried Flat Review as quotes. I tried.
Another suggestion, Chime.
Sure.
Go to the AppleVis website, create an account.
Just about to say that.
Create an account so you can post and explain what you're looking for and ask the Mac users there if they know what's going on. Because there's people old enough there who could relate to you.
Oh, I would agree with you there. I should do that anyway because I want to get my Apple TV going again.
The Apple TV app on the iPhone impressed the hell out of me the other day, man, because for the first time in 20 years, I can watch modern TV because I know before I click on it whether the thing has audio descriptions or not.
Oh,
isn't that cool?
That only impressed you the other day. I mean, you and I got to get together. You're gonna be impressed in more ways than one.
Sandy, I knew audio descriptions exist, but see, in the Android world, it's a hodgepodge of you have to figure out in advance, does this app even support it, does it not? Whereas Apple has kind of set it up in it. No matter where the source is, Apple will tell you if there's an audio description or not before you collect it. It's what Apple TV did on the iPhone, starting with iOS 13, was they made it an easier central location to find the descriptive video stuff.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm probably sometime after top of the hour. I might take off and leave because I got to help Susie get on a meeting at 12 o'clock. But the other day I was at an AT&T store and there's a new service that's replacing Uverse called AT&T TV, and they're using TalkBack for the accessibility. And it was
because it's running Android TV, yeah.
Right. Okay. And it's pretty.
As a matter of fact, Tom, in case you weren't aware, your blind shell phone is just a shell on top of an Android phone.
Okay. I'm very happy with my
So
blind shell.
if you're afraid, for example, that Google isn't tracking you every time you use that blind shell phone, guess what's on there?
I'm not worried about Google tracking me.
That's not what he should be worried about. He should be worried about me tracking him. Oh my gosh.
Oh
no!
I'm gonna tell you, I'm a sniper.
You're welcome to take me, Sandy, if you want. I need somebody to give me a security check.
Oh, did you go? Hey, he mispronounced my name. What's that about? Hey. Oh.
The thing is,
Skinny.
Kenny.
Oh. I'm gonna come with a good comeback on that one. I promise you. Man. Boys, this, all the documentation that we got. I mean, this is discrimination, boys. I'm gonna take it to court, the American one. I tell you, I'm gonna take it to the Trump court. I'm gonna get it trumped. I swear to God, I will.
Kenny,
It's gonna be a long hair.
You know what? I'm gonna switch
Okay.
out real quick.
That's okay.
Oh no.
Okay, go ahead, Chime. I'll be quiet.
yeah, I'm trying to get a word in, and you're just laughing and calling.
Of course we're laughing. It's not you we're laughing at, though.
No, I don't care, but it's just like, I told Susie in the background, I said Robert's Rules of Order would work better for this. But anyway.
What did he say?
What are those?
No, I didn't hear.
It sounds like one of them college debate things. I never did that in college. I did code, man. I never did English class. I skipped those.
I did lots of debate. I always ended up leading. That's another story. Okay, Chime, go on.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a word in. I can't get, it's just, so Kenny, the last thing I wanted to say about AT&T TV is that it works pretty well, except that sometimes you change channels and it doesn't tell you what channel you're on, or it doesn't name the show until you hit the guide button, and then it's a little bit inconsistent. But otherwise, it's very good speech. It wasn't choppy, and it's a nice solution if I have to go that way. The only thing is, it only uses HDMI jacks, so if you want to patch it in with RCA jacks, you're SOL. So
100%.
You can buy an adapter theoretically, but
yeah, I know they have these audio extractors. I'm using one for my Chrome, Roku. Thank you. I was gonna say Chrome. The Roku I had to do that with, and it works, So anyway,
I want to say one thing. I want to say something before you go. You really ought to get your wife a Chromebook and get her on here. So your same experience and the same kind of joy.
Well, my wife just uses her Windows 7 machine for Zoom meetings pretty much. I'm trying to.
Oh, she can do it. Because Chrome is meetings is a Chrome app. You just
No, she can say get in here. I mean, I gotta convince myself if I have to.
It's a matter of getting her motivated to want to get into a different realm, and I'm hoping someday that can happen. But what can I do? It's like it's lucky that she has an impetus because she's in a 12-step program, and they have a lot of Zoom meetings now because of the pandemic, and so she's gotten more comfortable. At least most of the time, I don't have to help her get into the meeting now because she can sort of manage herself. But it's she can even troubleshoot sometimes.
Yeah, hey, I heard that. Hey, Chime, you just take it step by step. I mean, I guarantee this. I get her in 20 minutes. She gotta be dragging you down to the nearest Google store to get herself a Pixelbook. And why not?
Well, you're gonna have to fly into Burbank Airport to show us how to do that. And
okay, I'll do that. I mean, Kenny already wanted to date me more than wanting a new cat, so I can see how that's working.
Yeah.
That was he said before.
Right, but
I think me and Kenny got to set some house rules first, though. But that's okay. We can do this. There are more than one ways.
Holy cow! Hey, Sandy. Sorry. Did you realize you could just turn on captions in the meeting and let Google do the notes for you?
Yeah,
I just saw it on my Chromebook meeting page. I did not realize it was there.
I know that I could turn it on, but I didn't realize I could have it making notes. And with the way the conversation is going right now,
I'm just playing around on this page, and it was like, oh wow,
Hey, I knew that I could turn it on, but with the conversation that we're gonna have, I'm not sure that I want to get that one out there. But that's okay.
Yeah, because you'd have to edit out the swear words.
No, it'd be a long, interesting doc to read. You probably want to delete most of it.
Okay, are you looking at the notes? I mean, are you looking at the outputs, because then we can test it. I mean, for the scientific.
No, I'm not. I just saw the button, and I'm like, I don't want my screen reader chattering right now. I can't multitask. Remember? So.
No, I mean your boy. I mean, I mean, boys. Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Boys.
I can't multitask, so I can't hear a screen reader babbling what I'm saying while I'm trying to say it.
It's top, guys. It's top of the hour. I'm going to say au revoir for right now. If any of you guys want, obviously Sandy and I write each other from time to time. Kenny, you're welcome to write me if you have my address, or I can give it to you. And likewise, Manny, if you have something you want to ask or tell me, that's fine too.
Cool, brother. All right, I'll hit you up and yeah, we can talk.
It's chime at hubert-humphrey.com.
Okay. All right, and is that the address that is on your subscription?
Yes.
Okay, cool, man.
Yeah, Hubert Humphrey was the vice president under Johnson. I put up my own website about him because I liked him so much.
Okay.
Anyway, like I said, I'm going to say au revoir and let you guys go on with the next thing. And I'm going to see if I can get Susie on a meeting in an hour, which is going to be a lot of fun. So,
Copy that.
All right.
Well, I'll see you guys down the log, and it's going to be, as always, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It always gives me a kick. I mean, it's a blast trying to keep up with you guys. I mean, of course, I always end up coming out leading, but we're not talking about that one. Not yet.
Well, actually, Felix set up the meeting, didn't he? I thought you're the one who set up the meeting, but I forgot Felix set it up, and he just kind of drifted out.
He doesn't.
It was.
I don't know about last week.
It was me who set it up today. I don't know why. He should have been there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you.
All right, guys. I'm going to say cheerio.
All right, it's cheerio.
All right.
There he goes.
Take care, man.
Alrighty, I'm still in.
Okay.
Well, I'm not in as in, but I am still here.
I have a teacher to call back here pretty quick.
So you're gonna leave me here with Kenny? Poor Kenny.
Oh no. Poor Sandy.
That's okay. Remember, we all know, you know, Starfish position and all that. Ow, what's that? Crap. I didn't
have a
mean
quick
that.
question.
Okay, what's that?
Why are you stretching like that?
What?
What's wrong with stretching, dude? It's a good idea when you've been sitting still for a while.
Yeah, well.
How can he know? How can he know that I'm stretching?
We heard you.
It's that
Just don't
sign.
hear me stretch now.
You can hear that I'm stretching.
Yeah.
You're a yoga person.
You got a good micro.
Holy shit!
My guess is you're using your Pixelbook with just its built-in microphones, which are very high-quality microphones.
You can fucking hear me stretching. I don't believe this shit.
High five, Kenny. High five, man.
Take it easy, man.
No.
Yeah, remember, Sandy, Google is the company who created the smart speakers that can hear you across the room and negotiate with each other as far as which one hears you best. So the mics on these Pixelbooks are. I've walked around a little bit. Remember you guys hearing me with a coffee cup and being able to figure it out?
Oh yeah.
These things are.
I know, but I have a question. Okay. I have a question. What am I doing now?
You put your hand in front of your face. I can't tell if you're drinking or not, but you put your head in front of your face or something in front of your right face.
And your head down.
He's not right from. No, I didn't put my head down right bottom, because if I did, I'd do something else at the same time. But that's not it. Guys, you are so perverted. I swear, you are geeks in the extreme. Man.
Well, Sandy, remember, I was a single guy who's never been married, who after a certain point of life realized I was never going to get married, so I took a different strategy and got a lot more successful.
Okay, well, what's that? What kind of strategy was that?
Funny how that happens, bro.
What?
I said that's funny how that happens.
Isn't it amazing? I went through the most worst experiences of my life because I kept falling for crap trying to hook up with somebody to get married and have kids. And once I finally decided I ain't meant to have kids, I started to attract decent people and have a good time. It just blew my mind. It works.
I would love to create a workshop because there's so many people under a certain age, guys, that under a certain age, that's what it is. It's that they're looking for something so intense that it puts people off, or else
it puts people off, and especially when you're a disabled person in a mainstream world, you're already going to be limiting your group of people because most people feel sorry for you, or
I know
they look at you like they would look at a gay guy who's somebody not available.
Yeah.
And so they tell you all the crap their boyfriend is doing with you, but they wouldn't consider you as a date. You know.
Okay, so I gotta say this. This is the other way around for me, because I think I'm sitting here with two guys. You are what? 5,000, 6,000 miles away from me. It's about 12,000 kilometers, and you can fucking hear that I'm stretching. Okay, it is not. I'm gonna say this only once in this video. I'm probably gonna say it again in the future, but once tonight. I am impressed by you two. And by the way, I am not often impressed by males, but you guys, you blow the fucking hell out of my mind. Really?
Like I was saying earlier in our conversation, Sandy, I think part of it is if you've had an interesting life that's taught you a lot of survival tricks, you learn to pick up on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, sweetie, I had an interesting life. I've been living with a Glock 17 under my pillow.
Chime is lucky. He's lived a nice, safe life.
I don't know what he's been living. I don't know. But I know what I've been living.
I kind of do. He's lived a nice, safe life in the blind Pacific culture, and I'm glad it's worked out for him. But, you know, I've lived a life where when the guy next door was a heroin addict moved in, you know, the first day we moved in, he tried to test me, and I wasn't what he expected, and we negotiated the solution without ever saying anything publicly. It was just the conversation we had that day.
that's how that works. You know.
Okay,
well, like Shine would never pick up on that sort of stuff, but if you've had to live in that situation, you learn to pick up on stuff really fast.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody like me, for example, who has never had good luck dating, you learn to listen for stuff and listen for cues to try to filter out the garbage before it gets too bad.
Oh yeah.
So it's survival techniques. That's why we're different.
And even to a lesser degree, once you realize that you want less drama, you start realizing, okay, these are some signs to stay away from, you know? And boy, you know, or else recognizing certain comments when they come out of other people, I'm like, oh shit, I used to say that. Oh man.
Yeah, otherwise you gotta, you know, look out for the actors and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm definitely with Kenny on the heroin person. You learn different kind of things.
Huh?
You
learn things.
Yeah, you learn things.
You know, for me, I'm a programmer, so what I do is just develop it into habits and routines. Like, you know, I commented to my sister after the previous manager here started being a jerk. I'm like, yeah, I updated my jerk landlord protocols the other day. What I did was basically make sure to research state laws, so I knew that whatever I did would never break the law, because that's my always absolute rule in those games is you don't ever break the law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way.
You don't break the law and you don't be stupid. And if you cross certain lines with me, then, like I said, you discover I have claws, but you can't do anything back to me because the law's on my side.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it depends. It depends. There are always ways. There are always, Kenny, there's always the back door, you know? You know, Kenny? It's the back door.
No,
well, but
no, there's not with me.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that there is some truth to that, and that is...
Oh, yeah, there's lots of truth to that.
Knowing when there is a backdoor and when it's being used against you,
right,
or not, and just recognizing, hey, you may have a set of circumstances which you may not be able to overwhelm at this point, but being aware of that you don't have to engage in a battle.
1 hour, 13 minutes, and 2030 gallery. One up
If that's you engage in a battle, and more important, it means you deploy your coping strategy.